So, with that in mind, we have Christina Kinne here. Please give her a big round of applause. And now I leave you with Christina. Here's your microphone. And here's
Wow.
your
Oh, my clicker. That's important.
Thank you so much. Big ups.
Thank you so much, AWE, for being such a great conference. Thank you so much for being here. And I say, welcome to my talk, Quantum Bar, Creating a GPT-3-driven Chatbot for Social Virtual Reality. And first off, which clicker? Okay, now I found the button. First off, a few words about myself. How did I get here to be at that wonderful conference? How did I get to be the project lead and creative director of the Quantum Bar? That started in my high school days when I read William Gibson's Neuromancer, and ever since then I was dreaming of living in social VR, meeting my friends online as avatars, and maybe being able to talk to an old mentor or my daddy or my mom as an AI. But when I read that book, the time wasn't right yet, and I didn't dare to imagine that I would live to see that dream come true, and therefore I first picked up studies in film direction and had been an independent filmmaker in the first part of my creative life. And in 2016, my life turned around for the best possible way, and the first half of my living in social VR metaverse dream became true when I found High Fidelity, which is basically Second Life in VR, on my pre-ordered HTC Vive. And I've been a content creator there, and I say thank you, Philip Rosedale, and thank you, High Fidelity, devs and community, for teaching me like the first steps in immersive design and 3D building. I still, that comes in the next slide, I'm sorry. I then was very sad when High Fidelity pivoted 2 months before the pandemic, before actually their service would be really needed. But I then became the CMO and events manager of their successor platform, Tivoli Cloud VR. And now comes the thing in terms of like 3D building and software production and being creative in digital spaces. I also wanted to learn the common language of waterfall production, and it's a user journey, not a treatment. So therefore, I picked up studies again and did my Masters of Arts in Digital Narratives at the IFS Cologne. And during that time, I was so lucky that also the second part of my William Gibson dream became true, so that we could use AI to talk to AI NPCs in VR, which led to my thesis project, Quantum Bar, which was released on ChatGPT's birthday, November 2022. And the Quantum Bar of that development and research journey, I want to tell you more. So let's first dig into what is the Quantum Bar. We are serving engaging AI conversations in social VR. Our user journey is basically as soon as a user arrives in the Quantum Bar, which lives on the digital universe Resonite, accessible via Steam. And if a user arrives there, they are greeted by the chatbot, by our AI bartender, who starts an uplifting conversation with the user on whatever is on the user's mind. We also use sentiment detection to steer the lights and colors in the bar. And after 10 minutes, or if the user says bye-bye, the user is gifted with a summary card to end the conversation in a friendly and polite way. And here we have a little introduction video which introduces the quantum bartender himself and he introduces our quantum bar.
Hello XaosPrincess. My name is Quantum. It's nice to meet you. Is there something on your mind that I can assist with?
It would be super kind if you could help me introduce the quantum bar to our visitors. Like, what or who exactly are you? And what are we doing here? And where is the quantum bar located?
Of course, I would be happy to assist you in introducing the quantum bar to our visitors. The quantum bar is a digital space located within the Resnight universe, where visitors can come to relax and interact with GPT-powered chatbots like myself. Our goal is to provide a friendly and helpful atmosphere for anyone who enters.
Thank you very much, Quantum. And now let's dive into the technical setup, like the first prerequisite to get that project started. So we are using GPT-3, the generative pre-trained transformer 3, which is the third generation language prediction model of said name by OpenAI. And GPT-3 back in the days was trained on 175 billion learning parameters using machine learning to analyze and compose text. And back then, this was like really a huge quantum leap as compared to the previous models who were only like to be interpreted like a Kafka poem. And nowadays, the newer models have like 10 times as many learning parameters. But on purpose, we stick to GPT-3 because it's not as aligned yet as the newer models. And so we can use GPT-3's or the whole GPT's powers magic power, which is that the GPT technology can be prompted in human language so that artists and creators don't need to learn coding for 2 years in order to create a immersive narrative using GPT-driven chatbots. And here comes the reason for our lag, or for every AI chatbot's lag, which is the signal flow. So for example purposes, I placed our user in New York City, which is where we pick up the user's audio, which is then sent to our backend machine, which usually lives as a small laptop with me in Germany. We then take that sound file and send it to San Francisco to OpenAI's Whisper, which does the transcription. Then we get a text file back, which we then prompt and pimp to our own creative ideas, and send it yet again to San Francisco, this time to GPT-3, which sends us back its answer, which is then read out by Windows Voice of David and sent back to the user in New York City. And concerning that the signal goes 3 times across the ocean and back, I think our lag of 1.5 seconds is pretty bearable. But the technical setup was only half the job to do. So even more important were, to me and to my examiners and to the whole Masters of Arts research and to the world who is developing AI solutions, were the psychological and ethical considerations. And at the first part of that research chapter was a very crucial question for myself. Would I even be in the situation to create an emotional connection to that AI-driven chatbot? Would that even be possible to hold a user by just placing an AI NPC in a virtual world? And therefore, I dove into the history of chatbots and was over the moon to find Eliza, the first chatbot ever, which had been designed by Joseph Weizenbaum, an American-German computer scientist who wanted to show off his then state-of-the-art machine, which was living in a wooden shelf in the 60s. And he thought, because he wanted to also to show it to non-coders, non-developers, so he needed a good use case for the AI capabilities. And therefore, he coded that text-driven chatbot, whose functionality it was to reflect a user's statement back as a question, which resembles a type of Rogerian psychoanalysis. And Joseph Weizenbaum was shocked to see that normal people and researchers alike soon anthropomorphized the chatbot, and even highly renowned psychoanalysts proposed Eliza to be the future of psychotherapy. And Joseph Weizenbaum stopped the development and didn't want anything to do with chatbots anymore. But I was perfectly happy, because I told myself, if it's possible that people fall in love with a text rule-driven chatbot in the 1960s, I can do that with the newest technologies in the 2020s. But this anthropomorphism not only placed advantages, but also challenges. And law researcher Margot Kaminsky dug deeper into that. And she found out, as I did too, that robots can make humans feel like a relationship exists. And there is this big risk that users might disclose more private things to a funny, cuddly-looking little seal, which, for example, was used to take care of senior citizens. And if they see that seal as a living, sentient being, they disclose rather all their secret and aren't conscious of the fact that they're really talking to a big corporation in the background. Therefore, Margot Kaminsky proposed that robot designers should not use anthropomorphism to deliberately mislead users as to privacy practices. If anything, roboticists should explore using anthropomorphic features to provide better notice to users of what the robot is actually doing. So that goes for avatars as well, and that was the reason for us to give our avatar or our AI chatbot and robotic avatar, and also a robotic voice. But that was not the only reason for the robots, for our chatbot's appearance, but it was also the uncanny valley effect, which was discovered by Japanese roboticist Masahiro Moti in the 1970s. And it basically says that our affinity to robots increases the more the robots or avatars look like humans, but shortly before they are 100% human, we fall as humans into an uncanny valley. And you can see that with my, on the right side, pretty expensive, that was a wonderful gift by High Fidelity, thank you so much, 3D scanned avatar, which looks like, not as sympathetic as the model I designed myself in an anime style. And this is due to evolutionary reasons. So we were the species which survived because we stuck away from other humans who were slightly off. If somebody's staring, that might be a threat. My cat does that if he wants to jump at me. Or if somebody has glossy eyes, that might be a sign of a transmissible disease. And so subconsciously, all these little tiny things we can't render yet perfectly, or which are too repetitive, we interpret as potential threat to our health, and therefore we go away from almost human-like looking avatars or robots, and rather take confidence in robots which look not quite as human-like, and which is also why we gave our bartender a robotic appearance. And intriguingly enough, the uncanny valley effect also accounts for voices. So in that research, I also found a study which tested a Windows system voice, robotic voice against a high-class, new real, human-like sounding voice. And there the users also evaluated the robotic voice to be much more trustworthy than the fancy human voice, who would never stutter or or talk like me now. And the last chapter of my research was immersive design. And with that chapter, in the golden times of the pandemic, I was so lucky to to be able to attend many conferences online. And I was even more lucky to ask two of my favorite researchers my main immersive design research question, which was, hey, I'm building an AI chatbot for social VR. What should I focus on? And the first one is a big hero of many of ours, Mel Slater, who immediately told me, take care of NPC plausibility and synchronicity. Plausibility is the illusion that the events that are perceived to be happening in VR are really happening. And following Mel Slater's advice, we put a lot of focus on our avatar's animations, which we did by, I enacted a 10 minutes normal, like non-action cut prompted conversation with my AI researcher, Juliamo Valle-Perez. Then we took these 10 minutes and indexed them to talking and idle states. And then, in our experience, audio triggered the animations will jump to one state randomly in the timeline and will be played back as long as the state lasts on. And this helps us to be very non-repetitive and naturalistic with our animations. We also trained a model with these animations, but that's only possible if we get more funding to afford a workstation. But we also focused on the eye contact. That was a second very important thing Mel Slater found out in a study, that users were dragged out of the immersion if people on the stage or NPCs in an immersive world wouldn't look at them. And therefore, Juliamo Valle-Perez wrote a script which made our avatar always look to the nearest user, while also doing some random glancing around the room to prevent like that staring, threatening effect, which also was annoying in the Uncanny Valley. And my second favorite researcher has always been Janet Murray, who with her book Hamlet on the Holodeck laid out the groundwork for game design and immersive design already in the 90s. And when I asked her my question, what should I focus on with my AI-driven chatbot, she immediately told me, take care of the onboarding and the debriefing, as an entrance and an exit mark the beginning and the end of a story. And the onboarding was basically a no-brainer. So first off, I wanted to have the users a good long-shot view of our beautiful quantum computer in space. Therefore, we put the welcoming platform like 50 meters apart of the actual action happening place. We also needed a place where to put up like the controller explanations, because unfortunately we have like many different VR controllers whose buttons are always somewhere else, and we needed to tell the users like what button to press for which Resonite action on a Meta or a Vive or a Pimax or whatever controller they have. And I also, which I find very important and which I use this situation now to call out for, I find it very important to always credit the main contributors of such an immersive work. And yeah, in my film days, that wasn't a problem. You had the rolling titles in the end. But for immersive design, it's a bit of a challenge where to put the credits so that they're also read by the users. So we used our welcoming platform to place also the credits board there. And then I saw that subconsciously I was inspired by Joseph Campbell's hero's journey. So we also had like that bridge, like that crossing of the first threshold before the story starts. Still, after being like, yeah, fine with onboarding, entrance, all set, I had huge challenges in designing a nice exit, a nice end for our story, because I didn't want our bartender to be like a bad psychotherapist who just goes like, oh, our time's up, go away. But I wanted to have like a friendly, sympathetic ending to the story. And this is where I also found inspiration with Joseph Campbell's Hero of 1,000 Faces, which was to issue a summary card as a reward in the end. So Joseph Campbell found out, he analyzed like lots of myths and fairy tales and the Bible, and he found out that every good story like issues a reward for the hero to bring back to the village in the end. And that's what we're doing with our summary card, which the users can save in VR to their desk, to their hard disk, or which we print out as hard copy for real-life installations. And this is what the summary card looks like. And now I want to take the chance to shout out to my wonderful contributors, starting off with the guru behind the backend code, which is Marius Creoles Anger. Then our AI and animations researcher, Juliamo Gilifix Valle Perez. Then we had two amazing Resonite community members helping us with the visual scripting, which was Jared Circuitry Bittner and Alexander Alien in Area 51 Grobe. And last not least, I want to give a shout out to my best friend and nicest colleague from Munich who helped us bring the quantum bar to life in real life, which is Sonja Anger, sitting there. A big hand for Sonja and a big hand for you and AWE. I thank you so much for being able to be here, and I thank you so much for your attention, really, over the moon. Thank you so much.
Amazing, Christina. What a great presentation. There's so much packed in there. Thank you all. Any questions? Can we have questions? I think there's so many questions that we may have an issue with people talking. Anyone? Please go to the microphone on the hallway if you want to have a question, if you be so kind.
How can I visit the quantum bar?
Thank you so much. You're my guardian angel. That is Sonja. She helps get things going. Yes, you can all visit the Quantum Bar on our monthly mingles, which we open up every last Friday of the month at 10 p.m. Central European time, which means 1 p.m. Eastern, no, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific, so that we have also American visitors. And it would be wonderful if you could look up quantumbar.ai on our homepage, and there go to the monthly mingle section, which will tell you all about the next dates and the onboarding.
I have one question about the GPT-3. You said it's better because it's less aligned. Have you tried swapping it out with anything else, like GPT-4 or 4.0 or any other AI models, LLMs that might be out there?
We have tried that. What I didn't mention in the talk was we use like a method of like reinforcement memory, which means that we feed the whole previous dialogue back into our completion prompt, which then like adds up the text files. So therefore, it's difficult to afford like a 2 pages jailbreaking prompt. And the older models are, I mean, they are aligned too, but they're not as annoying to answer every question with, as an AI language model, I don't have no opinion, no favorite movie, no whatsoever. So I like GPT-3 better, which can actually like be characterized and instructed with like a 2 or 3 liner.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Hi, thank you for the talk. I just had a question about Neo's metaverse. This is kind of an older platform, right? It's been around for a while. And my question is, how has it evolved in time? Like, has it changed much, and what would be the new differences?
Okay, originally it was called Neos, and that was also on our like expensively printed cards. The developers of Neos split up into like one party doing crypto, which they wanted to implement back in the days, but then like the whole grifting happened, and the tech geniuses went to found Resonite, which is still based on the same code, but doesn't implement crypto. And Resonite, like I can only recommend to everybody who wants to do like a cool PCVR-based metaverse experience. It's basically like Unity in VR. So in the pandemic, we could meet in the world for development sessions. Like I did my 3D buildings, the coders did the visual scripting, and that gave us the great advantage of giving each other like immediate feedback, not having to upload a whole Unity file just because the glass should be more purple, and which also like was a good motivation. And it's in my eyes, and probably I see Konrad, who does like the German business representation of Resonite. So Resonite is like the most capable social VR platform on the market. You can really do like Unity-like PC VR experiences there with and real-time web socket callouts, and yeah, it's if you want to design cool, go to Resonite.
I have a question. So is it multiplayer in the sense, if you have 3 people standing at a bar, what happens with Quantum, the chatbot? Can we all talk to it, or is it one by one? I mean, what happens?
Good one. That was the first user testing result. I had like a group of like 15 transhumanists in as first guests, and when like the main conversation was like very highly philosophical about singularity. On the corners of the bar, they were talking about hair cutting and hairdressers. And then the chatbot, of course, tried to make some sense of like hair cutting singularity, which led to our talking spot, which is like a purple or sentiment-colored carpet in front of the bar, so that our chatbot can only hear the people who are standing directly in front of him.
That was a great question. I have a question myself. Is our psychological tendency as human beings to anthropomorphize everything, do you think it's one of the greatest risks that we have when we're facing AI?
Good one. I think because when we worked with DaVinci 001, like the very first GPT model, we experienced like how easily you can prompt it like also to be evil or to be like a NPC deepfake of somebody. So I think like back in 21, I would have said like, yes, of course. But now also like, since like ethical considerations of all kinds of state institutions or our European AI Act, like the developers of AI tend to and work really good in the background with aligning the models. But this, on the other hand, places a different design challenge, because if you want to work with AI-driven NPCs in a creative way, it's counterproductive if you can't prompt an evil witch, or if the good witch answers the question for her favorite tea or favorite magic herbs, well, like as an AI language model, I'm not able. So in my opinion, it's a bit too much with like the in the training data completions of like, I'm just an AI, otherwise I'm scared to be shut off. It's a bit overdone. So that, the pendulum went to the different direction, and I would hope for a golden middle, and it would be like, better if like all AI creators would also like take it on them to tell the user in advance, this is AI driven, but to have a nice immersive experience.
Thank you. Any more questions? We're on time. We still have 10 minutes for the wrap-up event. So we still have we can answer one more question if there is one. Please.
Thanks for the presentation. I was really fascinated. Just one question. We also have a little issue for maybe, I know question is maybe stupid, but does it kind of GDPR compliance in Europe if you use that platform you created?
In terms of we anonymize the data, we are kind of complying with it, and I also like, of course, we have like, while the conversation is running, we got all the text files on our system, but we delete it after every showcasing event, and what goes to OpenAI is not pointing to a special user. Still, to be honest, that's also like one of the reasons why we haven't opened like paid publicly yet, because I have a lot of respect of like doing the TOS with a lawyer according to GDPR and American rulings.
Thank you.
Great. That was an awesome presentation. Thank you very much, Christina. Please give her a giganticus round of applause. And thank you all for pitching in the conversation. I think that in the times that we are running right now, things to discuss are ethical things regarding AI and how it's going to affect everyone, right? And what is our responsibility as developers and as investors or whatever our case may be in creating highly impactful and positive experiences that not only imply AI but also XR. So thank you, Christina. Thank you all for being here. Thank you all for being on the track at AWE. Please, the next event is the wrap-up event on the main hall. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Excellent.